Well, hey there, YouTubers. It's ArcadeJosh here one more time. Hello to everyone who happens to be watching. Thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. As you can tell, I'm not wearing the mystical toque today. I happened to misplace it, unfortunately. But here is a true blue Canadian toque. My home country colors. I figured I'd wear some of those for you. Anyway. I'm here on this blog in particular to do something that my other half sort of thought I should do, or influenced me to do it anyway. Not that it was totally her idea, but, you know, she sort of pushed me in the right direction. Oh, as a quick sidebar, just before we get started, a little bit about my name, ArcadeJosh. Blunty3000 had correctly guessed that I'm a gamer, and a retro gamer at that, meaning I spent the majority of my youth, or wasted the majority of my youth in the arcades, plunking quarters and dollars into all those lovely little noise-making machines. Not only that, but I'm a big fan of an online comic called Penny Arcade. I don't know if anybody out there happens to read it, but I'm a huge fan of Gabe and Tycho, and that's sort of where the inspiration for my name came from. Although, again, it does have roots in the arcade world. God, I miss arcades. Doesn't anybody else? Anyway, reason I'm here this time around. I'm here basically to sort of speak on something very near and dear to me, something that I don't really talk an awful lot about to an awful lot of people because, quite frankly, no one seems interested. But I consider myself, first and foremost, a Taoist and a Buddhist. Second, after that, I consider myself a mystic. And I know that's a lot of really, fancy terminology for me to throw around. I'm not really a monk. I don't live in a monastery. I don't avoid walking on grass or anything like that. I just simply try and follow the facets of the belief structure and try and live my life as best I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make an effort into explaining exactly what it is I believe, how I believe it, and how it came to be that I believe this stuff. Of course, this will have to be broken down over many different blogs. I'm not going to get it all done in the first 10 minutes here, unfortunately, but I'm sure as hell going to try. Anyway, I guess to start out, I was born and raised a Catholic, traditional Catholic upbringing, although the kind of ironic thing is I never spent a day in church. I never went to church. My mom never forced me to. My dad never forced me to. And I was never sort of pressured to kind of conform, which I think is part of the reason why I wound up taking the path that I did. I was allowed that sort of religious and spiritual freedom to sort of find my own way amidst all the different dogmas and all the different cultures that happen to surround religion. The reason I stumbled across Buddhism and Taoism, first and foremost, was I've always believed strongly in the ancient worlds, and by that I mean the cultures that preceded ours, that preceded, the colonization of North America, the building of the West, and even in some cases, the Renaissance and things like this. I'm talking about, the ancient Greeks and the Romans and the Chinese and the Japanese that have been around for, hundreds of thousands of years. I find the studies and the texts that come from them, Asia in particular, seem to be some of the most enlightened more than anything. It's not really a matter of who I like more, or whose mythos I believe in more. It's more of what makes sense to me and how I see myself as a person in relation to my spirituality and how I want those two to sort of commingle. So Buddhism and Taoism sort of touched very deeply to me because one, the main lesson that I've taken out of it, and I think the main lesson that should be taken out of any organized religion, is compassion. Is the understanding of your neighbor and of your brother and of your sister, and realizing that we're all just a part of this sort of great tapestry, that has been woven over time, that no one really fully comprehends, but we're all a part of, right? And the problem is too many people get wrapped up in the fact of, oh, my God's right, or his God is right, or my God's better, or your God's better. Buddhism and Taoism sort of eliminates that sort of facet of it, and just focuses solely on the self in relation to everyone else and to the world, which I think is probably the most important thing anyone can really do in their lives, is to just sort of put themselves in an objective perspective and say, wow, I'm so small, and I'm so, I'm so small in comparison to everything else. And I'm not saying that, nobody has any worth. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying, in comparison to this world and to everybody else on it, each individual is just a small portion of it. And I think taking that sort of perspective and kind of opening your eyes and saying, well, my life really doesn't amount to much if I'm not kind to others, or I'm not treating everything with a certain amount of respect. The old kind of golden rule, treat others as you would want to be treated, and it's absolutely true. If you give out love and compassion and respect and dignity, you receive that much back. Although, obviously no one's perfect, and I'm not somebody who's saying, well, I'm a complete Buddhist, I'm a complete Taoist, and this is what I do. Unfortunately, I myself have kind of fallen into the traps of being caught up in the petty day-to-day circumstances that surround people. And I think that's why Buddhism and Taoism help so much, is because it just teaches you that all that stuff, all the the bills that need to be paid, and the stresses of your daily life, and the stresses of your job, and the stresses of relationships, and all that other stuff, is just so minute and so small in comparison to everything else that's going on around you, that they're but fleeting moments in comparison to the journey that you're eventually going to travel on. Anyway, I think I've ranted long enough, wasted enough of your guys' time. I'll be back. I'll have more posts. I'll be elaborating a little more on what I've read and what I've seen and what I've done in terms of being an actual Buddhist or mystic. And I'm hoping against hope, I guess I should say, that I can share this and hopefully maybe open up a new world to some people out there. Anyway, treat each other well, and I'll see you on further up the road.